Hi folks, I've just done the 3 days one, of course, as I was doing it. Yeah, I then record, of course, 3 days. From crucifixion to resurrection, 3 days. Yeah. Well, it shows how things can change, how an outlook can change in just 3 days. You can go from utter misery to complete celebration in 3 days. Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, well, as I said, I mean, the thing about with God is if God has said 3 days, he doesn't say exactly what he means. So I've asked and I've considered. Of course, I've considered, I always will. I'd always go into great detail in the considerations, see if that consideration is within the realm of possibility. That really, I suppose, is what the last video was about. Yeah. So, 3 days, okay. We'll put it this way, the video I did yesterday, yes. I did one yesterday morning. Yeah. Yeah, it would have been quite early yesterday. I did the walk one, so I did that one. The other one that came afterwards was quite dark, I suppose. It was quite, from a hopeless point of view. So, if you're talking about from that point to, okay, what would it look like in 2 days' time now? Don't know. But yeah. It is going to be interesting, certainly. And the point about it all, I mean, well, as actually in that one that was quite dark, part of the reason why I was feeling quite dark at that point in time is because I couldn't see how what was happening would be glorifying God. And that's incredibly frustrating because I've gone through all that stuff over the past year, and my understanding was I was going through that because it was about glorifying Him, my life glorifying Him. And it's going to just end up with a... And that is so incredibly disappointing. Well, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. That's a certainty. It's an interesting situation because I'm not due back in court for, well, technically yesterday it was 4 days. So when God says 3 days, it could still mean that, but that's a day later. But that could be a continuation of what happens in 3 days. Yeah. It's still a lot more questions than there are answers available. So that wasn't an answer. That was simply another question. 3 days, wasn't it, really? It wasn't an answer. Whether you can take it an answer, you can say that an answer is going to come in 3 days. But even that's not a certainty. Something's going to happen in 3 days, but exactly what? Yeah. But one thing I will say is, listen to the video I did last night, or the ones I was doing last night. Yeah, my mood had lightened by that point. So, yeah. I'm cool with all of that. Yeah, and even actually today, that one, mass delusion one. Again, it's as if, yeah, I did a video a while back talking about delusion, and I think I mentioned it yesterday about that. And so talking about mass delusion from a societal point of view, and God wanted me basically pointing at that as a thing to do a video about. Okay, that's an interesting point. Well, because the problem is, people in church will say, how dare he call us delusional? Well, if the majority of people in the world are delusional to a certain degree, and that's encouraged in the world, then, certainly in America. I mean, America is a country that is based on delusion, isn't it? Yeah, the American dream is a delusion completely. And, but everyone buys into that, and part of the American dream is that they can be the next big baseball star, or, hockey star, or, basketball star, or football star, or singer, or actor. Yeah. They can be the next biggest nerd, to have the biggest breakthrough that's going to change the world. Yeah, it's the American dream. But it's the American delusion. And the majority of people at some point think that they can be. Well, when I say majority, it doesn't mean the high majority. It can mean 51%. And I think it probably is a case of over 51% of people are going to believe that they can be something. But they're encouraged to. They're encouraged to believe it by that society, and by as I said, that whole point of where you get mass rewards for just being you. I mean, that's not saying that actors and singers and sports personalities don't have to work blinking hard, because they do. But look at the rewards they get for the effort they put in. Are they working harder than a builder, than a carpenter, than an electrician, than someone dealing with sewage, with a bin man? Are they working harder than those people? I'd say no. They're not in any way, shape or form. They're just not. Are they going through more stress in their work than those people are? If you consider the amount of money they get paid, are they working that much harder, or anyway, nearly as hard? No. They're working in the industries where your rewards are substantially higher for the effort you put in. And of course, people want that, don't they? They want that. I mean, you get people in sports even, where people involved in sports, they believe that either they will become, after their sport time is finished, once they get to retirement in that sport, that they could be the next big manager, or they could be the next big commentator, and have a massive career in that afterwards. Which of course most can't, because you only have one big manager at a time. That, generally speaking, is the understanding, isn't it? That is the way it always happens. And as in the top commentators or the top coaches, few and far between. But why can't it be you? And that is the understanding. Why can't it be you? Yeah. But that encourages a certain degree of delusion, doesn't it? Of course it does. So, but if that can be the case in society, wouldn't that be the case in people before they came to church anyway? Wouldn't they have just carried that delusion into church? And just change their delusions a little bit? As I say, I mean, whenever I've gone to a church, you speak to people and they always, I wouldn't say overly optimistic. It's way above overly optimistic. The way people talk about their church, the people that come into their church. Oh, they massively hype up their church. They massively hype up, the spiritual level of their church. It's a delusion. Because are the people lying? No, they actually believe it. Yeah, they actually believe it. Well, again, the chap who was preaching the other week, who's not a minister, he truly believes that the job he did was a good job. It was a terrible job. It wasn't a good job in any way, shape or form. But he believes he did a good job. Why? Because people in the church have been incredibly encouraging to him about the job he did. Well, put it this way. I've spoken about Abigail's dad and his preaching. Now, Abigail's dad, his preaching was sky high above, ridiculously above the level that Alex was able to produce. And even that level of Abigail's dad, that wasn't raising the bar by that much. We're not as to where we should be. Where he hit is nowhere near where we should be. Better, but still nowhere near where we should be. Challenging, but nowhere near as challenging as we need to see from ministers now. Things should be pretty urgent, and they're not. Well, it's like her mum as well, playing the flute. I praise that. Again, not because of the fact that she's the best flutist. Would that be the correct terminology, flutist? Yeah, not because she's the best flutist in the world, because she probably isn't. But in comparison to the efforts of worship that I've seen over the past year and a half, she added something. She added something that was beautiful to worship. Worship is supposed to be beautiful. What she added helped that to be beautiful. It wouldn't have been beautiful without what she added. And as I say, the standard should be way above that. Way above that. I mean, I've not been paid by Mr. and Mrs. Russell to bloat up them. I have no deal with their daughter to do that either. But there is a mass degree of delusion of people thinking that they're actually doing really, really well. Because they're not. And when you see someone who's actually doing a good job, it looks like a great job in comparison. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I imagine if I picked over what Mr. Russell produced in his ministry, I imagine I could pull apart a few things. I imagine I could do that. Yeah. But what he did was competent. It was challenging. He was speaking about issues and speaking about them in a way that people should have been challenged. The only problem is he made it about churches in America, not churches in Scotland, and not churches generally. If it had just been speaking about churches generally, it might have been a bit more challenging. But he spoke confidently about what he knew and what he understood from his experiences. And so, yeah. I wish them both well. I really do. Well, I think they bless the church. I think they bless the church far more than... what's the other bloke's name? Jeez. Bear with me, please. 1 second, folks. Dave Bilbrough. That's it. I don't think Dave Bilbrough really blessed the church in any way, shape or form. Not really. I mean, was he and his wife, were their music playing better than what is standard? Yeah, a lot better. Yeah. So in that way you could say they bless the church. But, yeah. I mean, certainly with the choice of songs, I don't even know who chose the songs. To be honest, I have no idea who chose the songs. But those last two songs, oh my God, they were really bad. But Dave seems like a lovely bloke. Dave Bilber seems like a lovely man. Yes, indeed. So yes, but yes, Robert and Michelle are the Russells. Yeah, I suppose that's better than saying Abigail's mum and dad. Yes. But yeah, as I say, I think they did incredibly well. I mean, as I say, Dave Bilber, maybe I'm being a bit harsh. I mean, it's not necessarily his choice as to what the last two songs were. So yeah. Yeah. But as I say, I won't go back on the point that I think the worship conference failed miserably. And the evidence of that was the last two songs. That when you have the last two songs saying what they're saying, you've got to say that's... Yeah. So anyway, that's a general going over what I said. Yeah. Anyway, back to the 3 days and back to what I expect in 2 years' time. I don't know. All I know is it raises more questions. So yes. So yeah, there you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Be blessed, and yeah, pass your regards on to the Russells. Speak to you soon. God bless. Bye bye.